This video is by special request. Someone asked that I make a video about women on the DL. For those who have been living under a rock, let me briefly explain to you what DL means. DL means downlow. It typically describes usually a male, but sometimes a female, who lives, identifies, and presents him or herself as heterosexual to their family, the public, and so on and so forth, but in secret or in private, they are engaging in same-sex affairs or having same-sex sessions. Okay? That's the roundabout brief explanation. Now, yes, it is true that within this context, there are women on the DL, but I'm going to tell you this. I don't think it's anywhere near the number of men who are on the DL, and let me tell you why. Number one, women are basically, in some cases, encouraged to do woman-to-woman play, because straight men, heterosexual men who are naturally very attracted to women and desire women, love to see women in all of her glory. So it would make sense for a heterosexual man to even see two women together, even if they're pleasing one another, because he's being aroused and amused by everything that that woman is. He's not seeing a homosexual act going on between two women, although that's truly what it is, but he's just seeing women, naked women, and the idea of him being in the middle or somehow having both of these women to himself. So a straight man can look past the homosexual part of two women being together. Two women being together is not a threat to a man's ego. It's not a threat to a straight man's masculinity. Actually, in his mind, he sees that as an enhancement, as a knuckle notch in his belt, so to speak, to have two women in bed with him, even if they are pleasing one another. So this mentality has trickled over into the masses. This is why it is nothing to see two women in videos and a movie kissing and holding hands and having sex with each other, and there's barely any cringing going on. It's practically been normalized for women to be together. Women can play around with her bisexuality and still claim to be heterosexual, and no one would dare challenge or second think it, because it's just not seen with such taboo eyes as it is with male to male. So the women who are living on the down low in this regard are very few, but I'm going to tell you, more than likely you will find women who are on the down low in this regard typically are from very religious households, very strict religious households, or they are from families who are in the religious community and they are projecting a certain kind of image, and the family is putting pressure on the children to live up to this image. But we know the reality of that. We all know about the preacher's sons and daughters, how a lot of them really are in reality versus this carefully crafted saintly image that they typically create for them to present themselves as. But generally speaking, women don't have to really be on the down low because it's seen as sexy by the men who still, for the most part, rule and make the decisions and decide what is considered normal and what isn't considered normal. So there really isn't a lot of women out there feeling the pressure to conform and hide her bisexuality or her homosexuality, because women are not crucified and persecuted and shamed and disowned on the level that males are. That's just the fact of matter. And the ironic thing is that we will find a lot of these women shaming men. Now that's very hypocritical, and that's why I call it out. I call it the way I see it. I don't care how many men green-lighted that it's okay for a woman to go back and forth and be with women, she can still be straight or whatever. If it is a homosexual act, if you have a problem with homosexuality, truthfully, you should have it with woman on woman, just as you do with male on male. But we know how people cherry pick what they want to have a problem with. And they are hypocrites within themselves. They don't have a problem with homosexuality. The real problem is with male-to-male homosexuality. Even with some of these people, as sick as it is, but you read between the lines, people don't have as much of a problem with the opposite sex, meaning a male molesting a child, a male molesting a little girl, or a woman molesting a little boy, as much as they do with a male molesting another male or a female molesting another girl. When homosexuality is involved, especially when it's male to male, that is even more problematic in people's mind, far more problematic than a male molesting, a pedophile molesting a little girl. And all you have to do is just look at the level of emotion, the range of emotion, and how quick people are to quote the Bible and scriptures whenever it's male to male, be it in a pedophilia type situation or be it two consenting adults. Now, to me, you should be just as pissed off as a heterosexual molesting a little girl or little boy as you would a male on male. It's all the same. We shouldn't be having degrees of offensiveness if we have a problem with the act in itself, because we are heterosexual. As long as it's within a heterosexual context, I'm not as offended by that. If it's making me feel good and my heterosexual desires, it's okay. But the minute it made me uncomfortable, I have a problem. No, it don't work like that. And your hypocrisy will be judged, and the universe will show you and teach you about your hypocrisy when you do that. Alright, this is just a little short, sweet video. Again, women, yes, can be on the down low, but it's very, very unlikely for most. Alright, stay tuned for the next video.